What's going on, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so a lot of talk is being chattered around because everybody's trying to figure out what will fix the Lakers' problems, how do the Lakers go forward, etc., etc. And I think the centerpiece of this video, I guess, um, well, at least the intention is, if you watch me, I might go off into a different way, but the intention will probably be to just talk about Anthony Davis and kind of what other options the Lakers may have. Um, just off, swinging from the hip, I guess you could say, in regards to this. I didn't really look at numbers, didn't check the trade tracker or nothing like that. But if I'm thinking about the type of situations that the Lakers should be looking for in regards to moving Anthony Davis, if they came to the conclusion like that is something that they would want to do. Well, the first thing I'm looking at is, obviously, logically, you have to wonder if LeBron James is still a part of the situation. If AD is going to be traded after LeBron James' departure, we have an entirely different thing we're thinking about. But if we're adding Anthony Davis, to a trade that we're hoping to bring LeBron James back some pieces and stuff like that, if that's the objective, then we can think of it this different way. So, in any trade for Anthony Davis, the first thing I'm going to want to do is try to bring back young talent, regardless if AD is as long as regardless of whether or not LeBron James is going to be a part of it or not, I need young talent. So, first thing I'm doing is fielding the calls to teams like Houston, teams like Golden State, Detroit, Orlando, Cleveland. Those are the teams that came to mind very quickly in regards to the teams that have the young talent that I would be curious about if I were trying to shop a centerpiece player like Anthony Davis. Now, of course, I'm going to set the price very high because I believe that Anthony Davis should be priced very high based on what it is we paid for to get him. And the fact that he has an NBA championship attached to his name, top 75, all-star appearances in our uniform, stuff like that. So I'm going to price him higher than probably what would be reasonable if I were on the other end of it. Okay? I'm not going to price him like a guy I expect to play 50 games a year. I price him like a guy I expect to be your MVP candidate, probably your centerpiece of your team. So that's what my price tag going to be. And I'm gonna price him that way throughout the entire video. But in my mind, the thing about Anthony Davis is, a lot of times in listening to people in their trade rumors, people want to trade Anthony Davis for smalls, or let's trade him for Jaylen Brown, let's trade him for Trae Young. Preferably, I would rather not do that. And let me be clear, I didn't assess what Trae Young's value was when I said that. I blurted a name, so don't think twice about what that means. But I would not want to trade him for a small because of the simple fact that you would have to make up for what it is Anthony Davis does. When you give away Anthony Davis, regardless of what you think of him, what he actually is a long player that specializes on both ends of the floor. And if you're paying attention, not many players specialize on both ends of the floor. Even your favorite player, 9 out of 10 times, doesn't specialize on both sides of the ball. So that's why guys like Anthony Davis is so important, and you have to value him as someone that can bring a lot to you. So, for example, if I'm to bring back a Trae Young, I'm going to need size. No matter how great Trae Young is. Once I get rid of Anthony Davis, I don't have any rim protection. So whatever the situation will be, even if the player is more valuable than Anthony Davis, if you're bringing back a small, you better beware of what it is that you're actually doing in that regard. Size is size is size. So let's say I trade him for Trae Young and you think Trae Young's better than Anthony Davis. Probably should still ask for more on top of Trae Young just off of the sheer fact that he's small. So that's how I'm looking at the situation. I don't know if the market will react to it that way, but call me Black Danny Ainge. I don't care. I'm pricing it as high as I want it to be because that's what Anthony Davis is worth to me. I'm the Lakers and I got one shot to trade him, and he's worth all this to me, NBA champion, etc. We've made bad trades in the past, so I'm not getting fleeced. And that's how I'm looking at it. So the type of pieces I want for him, I was listening to Kareem report today. He said something like no, that's not what he said. It was Jabari. I always get the name mixed up. But it's Jabari Smith for the Rockets, third pick in the draft overall. Someone who was projected to be the number one pick in the draft in Orlando took Paolo Banchero the last minute. So technically the first pick in the draft, you want to equate it that way. And a guy in their point guard, Porter, Michael Porter, not Michael Porter Jr., but Kevin Porter Jr. from the Rockets. That was the trade scenario that he kind of just threw out there. That's a cool one. I like it because it gives you 2 star level players, and you get that rim protection that ultimately you need when you give up Anthony Davis. Jabari Smith is immediately going to come in and improve our 3-point shooting, and for some reason we bring a player like that, we don't have a problem shooting the ball anymore because that's what he specializes in doing from the 4 or 5 spot, and you expect he's going to develop into a superstar, maybe a all-star, superstar, high-level player, something really, really dope. So I think about a guy like Rashard Lewis. That's the type of player he's going to be if he develops properly. So it's one of those situations where it's like, yeah, you feel good about bringing a player like that in. KPJ is a guy you can see make about 4 or 5 all-star teams in his career when he fully develops and goes about his career. You could totally see his natural ability getting him, personal accolades. So development and things of that nature. It's just about, for me as a Laker fan, now I have to assess bringing in the right personalities. They got to be wired a certain way to be able to put on our uniform, because if we trade for a guy who's not wired to put on purple and gold, we're stuck with him. His value is going to plummet just like everybody else we've brought in and made a mistake with. And because of the mistakes we made, we can't afford that. So I would want to profile somebody with a wild kind of confidence, or someone who I would profile is wired to be able to perform under these very unique circumstances. Not everybody can. Know that before you bring them here, please. That is so important, especially for a centerpiece piece like what you're trading Anthony Davis for. Now, here's the thing. I was very disappointed back in the day when we traded Shaq and brought back Lamar Odom and the pieces that we did. I thought that trade didn't even close to bring back the value for Shaquille that we deserved, and I still stand on that to this very second. That was a terrible trade. So what I don't want to see is us do something like that. I don't want us to do that. You trade Anthony Davis and you bring me back some kind of guys. Lamar Odom, of course, turned out to be one of our NBA champion legends, but you got to understand, I remember that. Them first 2 years with Lamar was hell. We had to watch him develop, and it was not fun. He missed as many layups as Westbrook in his first year. As many layups. He's a layup misser. Who else? It was another dude that came to our team back in that same time. Forget this brother's name, man. Jody Meeks, he missed a lot of layups his first year with us. So we've been through certain things that just, in understanding what a rebuild is, certain stuff we just don't want to revisit at all. So if we're going to bring in players that Anthony Davis can net us, I want them to be high-level youngsters, not guys that have to work so hard to develop, or guys that can't really, guys that we got to wait 4 or 5 years on. Seriously. If we got to wait that long for them, let them be Victor, let them be Scoot, let them be Paolo type of players. Jabari is one of those, by the way. So that's the type of thing I'm looking at. I'm looking at some of these brand new kids, because I don't anticipate being able to trade Anthony Davis for one of these top 5 picks in this draft. I don't anticipate being able to trade LeBron James for Victor Wembanyama. And I'll be the first person to tell you that I would try, but I don't expect that was realistic at all. So I'd be the first person to tell you, if I can trade those players for that pick, I would do that. And I think most people would. But that's not what you expect the team that lands them to be willing to do. So that's not real, man. Once Victor goes where he's going, unless he demands out, he's not leaving. And that's what we all understand. So with that being said, it's like, okay, we keep our expectations low so we don't ask for that pick. What we ask for is players that was probably just drafted. Guys that were just drafted within the last 3 years. Evan Mobley, Scotty Barnes. Those are the type of players you start looking for when you consider moving a player like Anthony Davis. Now, to be honest with you, if I'm on the other end of that and I have one of those names, I'm going to hang up the phone. I'm not giving you that for Anthony Davis. But that's the bargain you drop. That's definitely what you're going for. Orlando, I don't want to hear no conversations that don't hover around the very best players they got. And see, that's the thing. It's like, for us, Anthony Davis is the number 2. For them, Anthony Davis is the number 1. If they acquire Anthony Davis, he immediately becomes their best player. Now, I and you know that that's not actually the case, because Paolo Banchero is the future there, and that's it. But if I'm getting in conversations with Orlando, I probably don't want to talk to them unless they're offering me that piece for Anthony Davis. Now there are other pieces I want, but I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but my ego draws a hard bargain. I want that piece from them. So that's how that goes for me, just personally. That's just a preference thing. And I'm looking at Detroit. There are teams that have players that I really, really like, but it doesn't necessarily mean I think it's the right value for Anthony Davis. However, because I think those players have such crazy upside, I'd probably pull the trigger anyway and just live with it. Because the reason why is I don't expect Anthony Davis going to play a lot of games. So in my mind, if I've made the decision to trade him, it's only because of that. Because otherwise, I like his talent, and I don't think that you can supplement what it is that he is very often. Like Evan Mobley, obviously you would love to do that with Cleveland, but then again, why would Cleveland do that? So it's like, these are the type of things you're looking at, you know. You don't expect that Boston would be willing to part ways with like Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown, but you do listen to a Jaylen Brown trade for Anthony Davis, even though you probably don't pull the trigger on that. Like Anthony Edwards, players like that, you were interested, but I don't know that you ultimately pull the trigger just because of all the things that Anthony Davis is supposed to be able to do for you when he's healthy. So it's like you drive the hard bargain. If someone wants to offer you Anthony Edwards, you probably will do it. Maybe he's not the greatest name. Of course you're going to do it for Ant-Man, but maybe someone else of a different caliber. So it's hard to say, man. It's hard to say for Anthony Davis. Like, you know, you could try to talk to a team like Washington if you're interested in bringing LeBron James, yet another older guy that can run with him. Maybe you try to swing for a Bradley Beal and some picks. That's like a little funky type of thing the Lakers could do. You do a combination of future and now for Anthony Davis. Like, if the Wizards would be willing to give us their future picks and Bradley Beal, that can kind of make LeBron James feel like he's still in a win now situation, and give the Lakers the type of pieces that can let them feel good about what happens after all this is over with. So that's the type of move that you need to make for Anthony Davis if you're Rob Pelinka. Because that way, if you're not parting ways with Bron, you're still bringing him pieces that fit him and are mature enough to keep running with him. Yeah, that's the kind of thing I'm thinking about. You know, I'm thinking sending Anthony Davis to the Golden State Warriors for like some of their young kids. You know what I mean? That makes sense to me. That keeps their timeline intact. We snatch up the Kumingas, obviously Wiseman for the size. Of course, we need him, and then maybe like PB&J and another player, Moody or something like that. You know what I mean? Obviously, if you're talking about Anthony Davis, you're gonna ask for stuff that you ain't got no business asking for. You might want Klay Thompson. You might want Jordan Poole. Bron's definitely gonna want his buddy Draymond. So those are the type of things you could see the Lakers actually doing realistically. I could totally see them doing a Klay Thompson, Draymond for Anthony Davis, which I would then throw my phone across the room and scream and holler. But like that's the type of thing I expect Clutch to push for or something like that. But like these are things that could take place. I wouldn't want us to do that though. I cannot stress enough. There's no way we let Anthony Davis leave our organization and bring back Draymond Green and like Klay Thompson. Like I love Klay though. But that's something I have a feeling they would want to do, and it's something I would not want them to do. So, realistic. That's what it is. You look at a team like, who else? San Antonio, obviously, you look at those teams, you say, they're not going to want Anthony Davis. They could be involved in a third team situation, though, because they can get involved and throw in some things that would ultimately sweeten up the deal with the team that we get involved in. So I definitely expect a team like Utah to want to get involved in any big deal that we would be a part of, just off the strength of their circumstances and needs. Charlotte, those teams. And that's the thing is I made a video earlier telling you guys about players that I picked up on my fantasy team and stuff like that. I'm becoming more intrigued with Charlotte just because they have a lot of pieces that I think can pop. And when you look at that Gordon Hayward contract, that's what makes the salary match. Gordon Hayward is a player that I would love to have at a much lesser price. But if I can make the difference up in young talent and picks, I would be willing to do a very big deal with the Charlotte Hornets and Michael Jordan, because I'm starting to love the Nick Richards players, the Dennis Smith Jr. starting to pop. All of these players could come in and help us, and I think kind of make a name for themselves here. You know, like a guy like Jalen McDaniels all the stuff that he's doing for that team, you put him in our starting lineup right now, and we will have a productive piece that can immediately pop for us. Like, this is just stuff that I'm paying attention to around the league. So it's like, yeah, we don't like some of the deals that these teams had in place, but some of the pieces that they're starting to develop, we would love to have those pieces if we know what we're talking about. We look at a team like, excuse me, Indiana. I'm not a Buddy Yield Turner guy, but they got a bunch of other stuff I want. You know what I mean? So it's like we just got to get creative and try to see if we're going to move an Anthony Davis type piece, if we can reset our timeline with picks. If anybody would be willing to give us picks, that would obviously be something our desperate behind should want. But, second year, third year guys, man, that's what I want. If I'm looking at the Pelicans, obviously I'm not sending Anthony back there, but, you look at a piece like Trey Murphy, you obviously want on the team to help you with shooting, So think players like that, man. You want to find those players before they start making a name for themselves, though. It's too late now. You ain't getting Trey Murphy, but like you wanted him 2 years ago. So you need to find a guy that's about to be him, and bring him to the squad. Last year it would have been great if we could have swung for Devin Vassell, because if you see how he's playing right now, boom, extra value. If we would have traded, and see, that's another thing. It's like you just got to have a feel for this kind of stuff. That's why a lot of people are assessing our GM situation and wondering if he has that, because it's like these are things you just. Man, if you got a feel for what's going on in the league, you can fleece the hell out of a team and catch their young talent before they realize what they have, man. There's so many different teams that run around with players they don't know they got. Do a deal with the Atlanta Hawks and get Justin Jackson, I believe. Justin Johnson, I never know that kid's name, but he's a power forward. Go get JJ out of Atlanta. You see, that's another team that I wouldn't mind doing a deal with Anthony Davis, because I know they got plenty of pieces that can supplement what it is I'm asking for. You give me Clint Capella. You give me, what's his name? That kid. You give me the one they just drafted. All these names are escaping me, of course. But you bring me a bunch of what Atlanta has down there. They got a lot of meat and potatoes type of players. They got the timeline that makes sense for them to add a third piece like Anthony Davis to Trae Young and God, what's that boy's name? Mine is going completely blank now. But, yeah, you add that to their backcourt tandem of what they already have with Murray and Trae Young, and I promise you Anthony Davis will have a team that he likes running on with those two youngsters that are flying all over the place around him. And then you give us the meat and potatoes of everything else that they ultimately don't want. Now you add that to LeBron James, and you got a nice little piece, nice little team that you can work with. Take a couple of things, and they don't have any picks, obviously. They gave those up for Murray. But those second year, players and some of these other guys that they got can help make us have a full team. And then some of them have good retrade value. You could turn some of those pieces. You take back a DeAndre Hunter or something like that. You can trade him for some pieces that ultimately break apart into the flexibility that you need. So it's like that's all the Lakers need to do is find that sweet trade for Anthony Davis that gets them back the pieces that gives us that flexibility. Once you have that, then you just got to be patient enough to move around and have that feel that I'm talking about to find the talent around the league. So just got to get lucky, man. We got the right scouts. That's half the battle right there, because we found our own homegrown talent very well. We just need to equip our GM with the picks necessary to have that flexibility. So a big part of what will create that for us, and this isn't going to sound very good, but is letting Russell Westbrook just come off the books at 47. It really does. That's the easiest path to that type of flexibility, because immediately 47 million, boom, off the books. And all of that can net you all kinds of stuff. When you got free space, and I don't think a lot of GMs use the free space like they could. I looked at the Portland Trailblazers and said they didn't use their free space as freely as they could have. They kind of just made it easy for themselves to continue to win now. But they could have got so creative if they really wanted to with the space that they created once they shaved off CJ's salary and several others. So that's what I'm looking for, is the GM that knows how to use free space in a very creative way to create, layers and layers of talent. That's how you do it. You get yourself the deepest team possible, like OKC's about to have. And when you do that, even if 2 or 3 of your kids are busts, one of them may pop and be a Hall of Famer. You know what I mean? It may not be the first pick in the draft or the second pick, but maybe the 7th guy is the one. You got to get a bunch of high-level talent, though. That's what it's about. just piling on as much high-level guys. So all the teams that don't have that going on are the teams that suck. It just is what it is. All the teams that try to skip those steps are the teams that are no more. And we happen to be one of those squads. So, yeah, we can keep kicking the can down the road. We're just fooling ourselves. I think we're in the same boat as the Brooklyn Nets as of right now. The best thing to do is to start figuring out how to blow this thing up and get the most for it. I hate to be that guy because it's so early in the season. But I'm just watching how the organization is moving. And as I told you guys earlier, I don't have any faith in how they're operating. If they were doing things properly, we would have heard certain announcements today. They're dragging their feet. They're doing the same thing they did last year with Vogel. This is about to be another one of those situations where Jeannie's not so sure about what she should do and is mulling over it for too long. And so when you know that's what's going on, the next thing that comes to mind is, okay, if I want to trade Anthony Davis, do I have the right GM to get me the right return for him? And the answer is, about 2 weeks ago, I said, sure, absolutely. Now, maybe it's just because I'm caught in the moment, I don't know that I want him to be the guy that makes the big trade. How fast things change. But the reality is, when you can't see what someone's holding on to, it's before the big move that he's probably waiting on right now. And so I can't see what it is he's looking at. All I see is the problems that are in place before the big trade. So that's what I'm hoping for. I'm speaking that into reality for the betterment of Rob Pelinka's tenure as a Laker GM, that he has something locked up right now that he's working on. You know what I mean? That he's been working on something for 2 months and it's huge, massive, because that's the only way you can make an excuse for why we are so bad right now. It's the only excuse. Because we can very easily bring up the excuse of the locked market, but the market hasn't been locked in weeks, and our team is now changed and shifted into a team that's much worse than what we expected it to be. So now it's like, all right, the understanding that you should expedite in your process or change the timeline of your process is now in place. And if you understand that, you should be reacting right now. That's all I'm saying. If you understand that, then you've just changed your tune, just like I just changed my tune about 24 hours ago, and now you're fielding calls that you would have never fielded about 24 hours ago. Because in real time, you got to understand that things are happening. Once you go down 0-4, and you got LeBron James talking about he don't feel appreciated, and you got people getting on TV saying the Lakers are 0-4 and their season is over because no one's ever won a championship going back from 0-4, and the only teams that's come back from 0-4 are teams with Russell Westbrook on it. Like, wait a minute, what? We need to make some changes. When ESPN starts announcing how bad we've been shooting, it's time to make some changes. That's not what you were looking at when the season started. That wasn't what you were looking at in the preseason. See what I'm saying? Things change fast and you got to react fast. That's all it is to it. I'm not saying that this is the thought that we've been having the whole time. Hell no. We are reacting to things as they come. And that's what I want to see from Jeanie Buss and the Laker front office. It's a new day. We got new problems. We got new solutions we need to try to find. Do that, man. Do that. Don't stay stuck to the old plan, because the old plan has now been destroyed by the circumstances we're in front of us. We don't have the same leverage we thought we would have. You know, the price tag on our players has changed. Our leverage position has gotten significantly worse. And now we need to change what we're looking at in order to fit what we're doing, as I speak in circles. So that's where we at, man. That's where we at. If I'm open to trading Anthony Davis, I definitely want to bring back some guys with some size. If they don't have any size, let it be a small, like a Bradley Beal or somebody like that who can specifically run with LeBron James, and then bring me back a bunch of picks on top of that. You know what I mean? That's what I need Rob Pelinka to do if we're going to be trading away Anthony Davis. Because if you can't net us a future and you just bring me back some Lamar Odom type piece, I'm going to be crazy mad about that. Because I can tell you right now, what made the Lamar Odom thing work out was the fact that we had a very dedicated Kobe Bryant here to let him just continue to make mistakes and develop and ultimately be his brother. So we can ride off into the sunset and win championships. That is not what LeBron James is about to be on if we trade away Anthony Davis. In fact, what I think he's going to be on is the first thing, smoking. So we had better be damn sure that if we trade Anthony Davis, we know what the heck we're doing and that we have all that understood. Me personally, I've actually been very happy with Anthony Davis. He's been one of the only Lakers that I've actually liked seeing play this well. But being the negotiating type of mind that I am, I know that's exactly when you sell high. My name is BDL44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.